Start off with Jacob Bear, talking about interior offensive lineman, 6'4", 315 pounds, out of Grandview, Texas. Coach Morgan, what do you see from what do you see from Jacob?
Well, you look at Jacob, man. He's from a program. They won 2 out of the last 3 state championships. A small town, small program. We love those kids, and he's just a massive guy. He's very strong, and you watch him play. He gets after people. His motor runs very high.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna be a guy up front that really punches some holes in the defense for us. We're gonna turn on some clips. Let Coach Covington, our offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, give you a little more detail about Jacob and the way he plays on the field.
So Jacob's middle name is Violence. He likes to get after everybody. That's the reason he loves playing football, is the contact of the game. And you see the guy and the way he trains in the weight room and just develops himself to be the best player he can on the field. It's a year-round thing for him, and he just loves. When he's not playing, he's watching football, and it shows up in just how the guy plays. And I love that he's been a part of winning tradition there at Grandview, and it's instilled in those guys the toughness level, and it shows up with all the guys on the field. And I think that's a big part of the guys we want to bring into the program, especially at O-line, just because it always going to start up front. But there's not many clips on film where you're going to catch Jacob taking a play off or not trying to finish a defender, just because he loves the contact of the game.
He's also a power lifter. Put up some pretty big numbers in power lifting so far this year.
He's fun to watch. I mean, golly, those first 2 clips got me excited. Just look at that. Look at that finish right there. And the dude knows how to finish. You love not having to coach that, on the offensive line perspective.
Absolutely. Can't wait for Jacob Bear to get to Beaumont, Texas. Next up, talk about Caleb Leonard, 6'4", 310 pounds, out of Pearland, Texas, Shadow Creek High School. Coach Morgan, what do you think he's going to bring to the Cardinals?
You love having a guy so close to campus. His parents are going to be able to come and watch him play. And, a program like Shadow Creek, they've had some good runs in the playoffs, and he's been coached very well. I mean, he's a kid that you really don't have to worry about how hard he's going to play. He's going to come in, being very much a technician at his skill set. And, I mean, he's a pretty quiet kid. You talk to him in person. So you talk O-lineman, man, you want those guys to be as low maintenance as it gets.
Yeah, as a running back coach, you get really excited about seeing a guy like him on film. Coach Covington, what do you see from Caleb?
And Caleb's a real smart guy too, like all these guys we signed this year. Very knowledgeable in what they're doing up front. They run gap schemes, zone schemes. You can tell he likes to finish too. That's a big part of it for him as an interior lineman. Really good with his hands. Got kind of a heavy-handed guy. You see when he makes contacts with guys, whether it's second level or at the line of scrimmage, you see their heads jolt back on film pretty consistently, especially that competition they play in that league. And you're going to see pretty high-quality D linemen, high-quality fronts. So he's one of those guys that you feel like can come in physically and be ready to go right away, and from a knowledge standpoint, have a really firm understanding of what's going on up front, just because of how he's been trained. But really I think the sky's the limit for Caleb. Just him given the opportunity to come in and see what he can do right away.
And these interior guys, sometimes they're thankless when they get on the field, but you watch their highlights and really watch them when they're highlighted. They're fun to watch. I mean, just their mentality is exciting. I mean, it gets me pumped. It makes me want to stand up and watch it a little closer.
Yeah, and I think you can see how our recruiting mirrors what we're instilling in our program. These guys are finishers from the snap to the echo of the whistle. These guys are full throttle. That's what you love to see. So, fired up about Caleb. BJ Williams out of DeRidder, Louisiana, 6'3", 293-pounder, DeRidder High School. Coach Morgan.
Couple themes with this class. I think you'll find some kids from maybe smaller programs, and we love those kids because a lot of times the smaller programs, they're playing multiple sports. He's probably throws the shot and disc and track and he might be a center on the basketball team. So you love those small programs. And then another thing, he can get in the car and he's right across the border. And so he's close to home and he's local. And again, you're going to see a big dude that moves people inside. And we're going to be looking for a couple of these guys to come in and give us some depth, in the fall of 21.
We love the fact of where we are. Our location is awesome. We can recruit the whole state of Texas. We got access to Louisiana. We love our Louisiana guys. They're so competitive. They love to get after it. Coach Covington, BJ, what do you think?
Yeah, BJ's a Louisiana animal, man. Like this guy, I tell you what, he's a long, big-bodied player. Really, I think if you watch his film, he's probably pretty raw too, just as far as had to play a couple different spots. He played tackle in high school. He's long enough to do that at the college level, but will end up being a really, really good interior lineman. I think and just the sky's the limit. Kind of everything Coach Morgan said too. He's one of those guys that's probably played a bunch of different sports, but just a really good athlete with good feet. And you can see that, just talking to him on the phone throughout the process, that he's always wanting to get better, be more knowledgeable from a technique standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, wants to learn new things. And he fits right in here as a blue-collar guy, blue-collar family, just right down the road, right over the border. So really fired up about BJ and what he's going to bring to the group, and just another high-quality individual.
Yeah, you talk to him, and he's just a fun kid to visit with, and comes from a great family. I mean, that's a reoccurring theme with our class. And he can move for a big guy. He can, you see him get off a block and fit up on somebody else. Sky's the limit for this kid.
Yeah, we're going to pride ourselves on being physical, and this guy defines physical. We're fired up to have BJ Williams join us in the fall. Next up, let's talk about Drew Moss, 6'4", maybe 6'5", 275-pounder out of Richardson, Texas, Richardson High School. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of Drew, Coach Morgan?
Oh, the thing that stands out is when they got shut down in COVID, and he's, we don't like our guys being all over Twitter, but he's leading his team in workouts, and you just like the leadership aspect of this kid, and he did it all by himself. He's a pretty self-driven kid, and you turn on the tape, and I think he was probably about 240 pounds last year, and he's playing at 265, 270 as a senior, and that tells you he's dedicated. I mean, he's dedicated to the weight room, and he loves lifting weights, and he loves moving people, and pretty athletic kid overall. Yeah,
when you talk about Richardson High School, they went to the playoffs this year and broke a streak of not going, and his leadership and under Coach Pels in that program really had an incredible year. You just think of when you think of grit, you think of Drew Moss. He played at the 6A level. He played defensive line. He played offensive line. Was all district in both, and just a great kid. Coach Covington, what do you see out of Drew Moss?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was this guy's playing both ways a good chunk of the time, and you're not seeing him take plays off. Plays with really good technique and pad level. He loves the contact aspect of it. I mean, the guy was player of the week on O-line, player of the week on D-line several times throughout the course of the season for his team, for his own squad. Just from, when you talk to this guy on the phone and the things he talks about about loving football and the parts of the contact and the violence, it's just really fun guy to be around and want to coach. And you just know the game's important to him, and his teammates are important to him too. But it's exciting to see what this guy's going to be able to do, going from high school where he's having to play both ways. Now he can focus on one side of the ball in college and just really keep progressing as a tackle and taking it to the next level for him. But I love, again, we keep throwing around blue collar with all these guys, a recruiter. That's what he is when it comes down to it. He's going to fight to the finish, and he's going to try to smash people.
Another awesome thing, you talk to the kid, he wants to be a Lamar Cardinal. I mean, he wants to be here. He wanted to be here, and that's a big part of it. We want kids in our program that really, they embrace what we're going to be. We're going to be blue collar. We're going to be hardworking. We're going to be a little bit of a throwback, but we're going to be a family at the same time.
Absolutely. Drew Moss, work ethic, tenacity. Again, great family. You see a lot of these guys that have very similar qualities coming in. We think these guys are going to be cornerstones for our program for years to come. Fired up about Drew. James Collins, next up, offensive lineman, 6'3", 270 pounds from Mesquite, Texas, from Horn High School. Talking about another guy that's played at a very high level on offense and defense, played all up and down the line, showing his versatility. Coach Morgan, when you see James, what do you think?
You hit the nail on the head. I think it's versatility. You see him playing center. You see him moving out to tackle, and then you see another 6A program in the Metroplex where they've had a lot of success. Mm-hmm. And that's a reoccurring theme in this class. Guys that are playing in programs that are used to winning, and they come from a winning culture, and that's what we're going to have, and that's what we're going to build here. So you're excited. You talk with him. He's a fun guy to visit with. I mean, he's got a great personality. Mm-hmm. He does incredible in the classroom. He's a 3.5 plus GPA, and I think you can say that about a lot of these kids.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head as well as far as just personality. I mean, he just lights up a room. He's fun to talk to. You get on FaceTime with him. He's always smiling, always happy. And, man, we can't wait for that personality to get into our locker room and for him to be a part of this. Coach Covington, what do you see from him on the field?
Yeah, you see a guy that from junior to senior year made huge strides in just how he played as an O lineman. He was primarily a D lineman earlier on in his career. He may not be a 6'7" kid, but he's a longer 6'3" guy that could project as an inside guy, could play tackle. You feel really good about his versatility, and just watching this guy run in space. And from game one to the end of the season for these guys, he got better each game. He learned from any mistakes he had. He did a great job finishing blocks, especially down towards the end of the playoff games. You could tell he just played with like a chip on his shoulder with a lot to prove. And again, it's fun to coach guys that will liven up the room. They'll have a really good personality. They want to be there, excited about getting better. And that's exactly what you get with James, because he's really worked his way into having an opportunity to play college football. And I like that he's a guy that they asked to play O-line, moved him to center, moved back to tackle, very selfless in what they asked him to do, even if he was in an uncomfortable situation, learning how to do it. So I think just James he's gonna be a year from now just be a completely different player just because of how he's growing up in his process now.
Probably his best years are ahead of him, and those are going to be the 4 to 5 years he's with us, that's what makes you excited about the kid. I mean, his potential is, again, it's through the roof. It's pretty high.
I think one of the things he told me that stood out was, the kid just loves to practice. He loves putting on the pads, loves putting on the helmet, loves being around his teammates, and loves getting after it. He's a great fit for the Cardinals. We're excited to have James Collins.